Cost-benefit analysis. Cost-benefit analysis, CBA, is a method for evaluating the cost-effectiveness of a particular decision or investment by comparing the expected costs and benefits. In the context of information security, CBA can be used to assess the value of implementing a safeguard to mitigate a particular risk. The process of conducting a CBA involves identifying the potential risk and their associated costs, as well as the cost of implementing safeguards to mitigate the risk. The calculation involves comparing the annual loss expectancy, ALE, before and after implementing the safeguards and subtracting the annual cost of the safeguards from the expected benefits. For example, if a company is considering implementing a new firewall to protect against cyber attack, they would need to calculate the ALE of a successful attack before and after the implementation of a new firewall. The difference in the ALE would represent the value of the safeguard to the company. If the annual cost of the new firewall is less than the value of the safeguard, then the investment is considered cost-effective. Risk strategies. These are the four basic risk treatment strategies known as risk management framework, or risk treatment options. Mitigate. Implement controls or countermeasures to reduce the likelihood and/or impact of risk. Accept. Acknowledge the existence of a risk and decide not to take any actions to treat it. Avoid. Take measures to eliminate the risk altogether by changing or discontinuing the activity or process that created the risk. Transfer. Shifting the risk to another party, usually through insurance, contracts, or outsourcing. Examples. Mitigate. Implement firewalls and intrusion detection systems to reduce the risk of cyber attack. Accept. Deciding not to invest in a new project with high market uncertainty because the potential risk outweighs the potential benefits. Avoid. Closing a manufacturing plant located in a high-risk area to avoid the risk of natural disaster. Transfer. Purchasing insurance to transfer the risk of financial loss from a potential lawsuit to an insurance company. Types of controls. Technical, administrative, and physical controls. These are the three types of controls that can be used to protect against security threats. Technical controls involve using technology to enforce security policies, such as firewalls and antivirus software. Administrative controls involve policies, procedures, and guidelines that help to ensure security, such as employee training and background checks. Physical controls involve using physical barriers, such as locks and access cards, to restrict access to sensitive areas. Example, a company uses a combination of technical, administrative, and physical controls to secure the data centers. They have installed firewalls and intrusion detection systems to prevent unauthorized access, conduct background checks on employees, and use access cards and security cameras to restrict physical access to the data center. Deterrent controls. These controls are designed to discourage potential attackers from attempting to breach security measures. One example of deterrent controls is using guard dogs to patrol a perimeter. The presence of the dog can discourage intruders from attempting to breach the perimeter. Example, a warehouse uses a guard dog to patrol the parameters of their property to deter potential intruders from attempting to break in. Preventive controls. These controls are designed to prevent security breaches from occurring. Separation of duties is an example of a preventive control that ensures that no single individual has complete control over a process. This reduces the risk of collusion and fraud. Example, a company divides responsibilities for financial transactions among multiple individuals to prevent any one person from having complete control over the process. Detective controls. These controls are designed to identify security breaches after they have occurred. Job rotation is an example of a detective control that helps to detect fraud by ensuring that different individuals perform the same task at different times. Example, a company implements a job rotation policy that requires employees to switch roles periodically. This can help detect any fraudulent activities that may be occurring. Types of controls continued. Compensating controls. These controls are used when the primary controls are not sufficient to provide adequate security. An alternative control is an example of a compensating control that provides an alternative means of achieving the same level of security as the primary control. Example, a company has implemented a primary control that requires all employees to use two-factor authentication process to access sensitive data. However, some employees may not have access to required technology. To compensate for this, the company provides these employees with an alternative control, such as a physical token. Corrective controls. These controls are used to restore systems to their normal state after a security breach has occurred. Backups are an example of a corrective control that can be used to restore data that has been lost or damaged. Example, a company's regular backups their data to ensure that they can recover from any system failures or security breaches. Recovery controls. These controls are used to restore systems to their normal state after a major disruption, such as a natural disaster. Restoring backups is an example of a recovery control that can be used to restore systems to their pre-disrupted states. Example, a company has a disaster recovery plan that includes backing up critical data to off-site locations. If a disaster occurs, the company can use the backups to restore their systems to their predisposed states. Directive controls. These controls are designed to provide guidance and direction to employees. Security policies are an example of a directive control that outlines the rules and procedures that employees must follow to ensure security. Example, a company has implemented a security policy that outlines the rules and procedures that employees must follow to ensure the security of their systems and data. Controls continued. Separation of duty. This is a preventive control that ensures that no single individual has complete control over a process. This reduces the risk of collusion and fraud. Example, a financial institution separates the duties of creating and approving financial transactions. One employee creates the transaction while the other approves it. Least privilege. This is the practice of granting access only to those who need to perform the job responsibilities. This reduces the risk of unauthorized access and data breaches. Example, an employee is granted access only to the files and systems required to perform their job responsibilities and nothing more. Job rotation. This is a detective control that helps to detect fraud by ensuring that different individuals perform the same task at different times. Example, a retail store rotates employees between different cash registers to prevent any one employee from having too much access to cash. Candidate hiring and screening. Background checks are an important part of the hiring process to ensure that candidates don't have any history of fraudulent or criminal activities. Example, a company conducts a thorough background check of all job candidates, including verifying employment history, education, and criminal records. Controls continued. Employment agreement and policies. Non-disclosure agreements, NDA, and non-compete agreements, NCAs, are commonly used to protect company assets and intellectual property. Example, a software company requires all employees to sign an NDA that prohibits them from sharing company secrets or intellectual property with anyone outside the company. Onboarding and termination process. Identity and access management, IAM, and user entity review, UER, are critical components of onboarding and terminating process. IAM ensures that employees have access to the systems and data required to perform their job, while UER ensures that access is removed when an employee leaves the company. Example, when an employee joins a company, they are granted access to the systems and data required to perform their job. When they leave the company, their access is removed to ensure they no longer have access to the company systems and data. Vendors, consultants, and contractor agreements and controls. Contracts and service level agreements, SLAs, are commonly used to ensure that vendors, consultants, and contractors adhere to the same security policies and procedures as the company. Example, a company hires a third-party vendor to manage their cloud infrastructure. The vendor must sign a contract that requires them to adhere to the company's security policies and procedures, including regular security audits and reporting. Compliance policy requirements. Adhering to compliance requirements such as the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, PCI DSS, is critical to ensure the security of sensitive data. Example, a company that handles credit card transactions must adhere to PCI DSS requirements to ensure the security of their customers' credit card data. Privacy policy requirements. Companies must adhere to privacy policy requirements, such as obtaining consent before monitoring its employees' activities. Example, an employee wants to monitor an employee's email for security reasons. However, they must obtain the employee's consent before doing so to comply with privacy policy requirements in some circumstances. Risk Management Framework per NIST 800-37. The Risk Management Framework, RMF, is a structured approach to manage risk in information systems. It involves 6 steps represented by the acronym CSIAAM. First is categorize information. In this step, the information system is categorized based on its impact levels. This helps determine the appropriate security controls to apply. Example, a healthcare organization categorizes their electronic medical records as having a high impact level due to the sensitivity of their patients' data it contains. Second, select security controls. Based on the impact level determined in the first step, appropriate security controls are selected to protect the system and its data. Example, the health organization selects access control, encryption, and audit logs as security control for the electronic medical records. Third, implement security controls. The selected security controls are implemented and integrated into the information system. Example, the health organization implements access controls by requiring strong password and two-factor authentication to access their electronic medical records. Risk Management Framework per NIST 800-37 continued. 4. Assess security controls. The effectiveness of implemented security controls is assessed through testing and evaluation. Example, the healthcare organization performs penetration testing and vulnerability scanning to assess the effectiveness of their security controls. 5. Authorize information systems. Based on the results of the security control assessment, the information system is authorized for use. Example, the health organization authorizes the electronic medical record system for use after verifying that the implemented security controls are effective. And 6. Monitor security controls. The effectiveness of the security controls is continuously monitored to identify any risk or vulnerabilities. The health organization continues to monitor the electronic medical records system for security incidents and regularly performs security audits to ensure the effectiveness of their security controls. Awareness and training. Awareness, training, and education are important components of comprehensive security programs. They help users understand the importance of security and provide them with the knowledge and skills they need to protect sensitive information. Awareness. The first step in security training is to create awareness among employees. The goal of creating awareness is to educate employees on the importance of security and make them recognize it is an important component of their job. Example, an organization conducts a security awareness campaign that includes posters, emails, and training sessions to educate employees on the importance of protecting sensitive information. Training. Security training teaches employees how to perform their work, task, and comply with the security policies. Training is usually conducted by the organization and is targeted towards groups of employees with similar job functions. Example, an organization conducts security training for all employees who handle sensitive information to educate them on the best practices for handling and protecting such information. Education. Security education is a more comprehensive and detailed endeavor that provides students and users with more knowledge than they actually need to perform their work task. It may involve obtaining certifications or advanced degrees in security-related fields. Example, an employee decides to obtain a CISSP certification to gain a better understanding of security concepts and advance their career in the security field.